In today's age, what does being black, being Haitian, and being Christian mean in today's society? So I'm gonna pick Pastor Vital. And I am gonna pick Pastor Ruben. All right.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and I think the challenge that you have in trying to define that is you're trying to put multiple identities onto one person. And when you define yourself by some of these things, I am black, or I am Haitian, and even I am Christian, I think there becomes a pressure internally. You might not even ever say it. There comes an internal pressure where you feel like I have to live up to these things, right? So when, I think a perfect example is 2020, George Floyd dies. And I know I felt this pressure like, man, I need to be in the streets. I'm about to beat up a congressman. Next cop I see, I'm snatching him up, right? Because I'm black, because I'm black. But then the other side is, man, I need to love somebody, and if they hit me, I'm gonna give them the other cheek because I'm Christian. But then it's like, the other side is, this ain't even really my fight. I ain't with them. I don't know if y'all grew up like this, but my parents grew up like, yo, you Haitian, I am black, that's y'all, right? So like, it creates this internal pressure where you're confused and you're not really sure what it is to live out and how it is to live it out. And I think the Bible really gives us the best blueprint. And I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more tonight, where the consistent theme throughout Scripture is God saying, my sons and daughters, my sons and daughters, my sons and daughters, and living out of that identity. Like, if you think back to when you were a kid and you was just a son, like, you was just a son, you ain't think about nothing else. It's like I almost didn't realize I was black till the world started telling me, right? It's like I almost didn't realize I was Haitian till the world started telling me. When you was a kid, you're just blissful. And I think that's the space God wants us to get to internally, where we can just recognize our identity as sons and daughters and let everything else find its natural place.
I think those three, being Haitian, being black, being Christian, defines me, particularly who I am. I have no choice to be Haitian/black. I was born with those traits. But you have a choice with being a Christian. This is a choice that, that you decide to, as we were saying earlier today, being carnal and being a place of being spirit-led. Being spirit-led is being a place of walking in Christianity of who I am. These three things make up who you are. But however, I want to say priority, what carries the most weight should be your Christianity and who you serve. Because our goal is to be like Christ. And oftentimes, as Pastor Andy alluded to, there is a conflict between being Christian/Haitian, to me it's all in the same, and being Haitian/Christian, black, and being a Christian. There's sometimes a conflict or like a stress involved. However, we must default to our beliefs in being identified as a child of God. And this does not, being Christian is not based on what you do. It's based on who you belong to. It's not based on, like, we have to get out of our minds that our relationship with God is based on tasks. It's because, like, in the prodigal son, right, in that parable, I'm not going to preach, I promise. In the prodigal son, when the son that was home the entire time with his father, who's a prototype of God, so when he came home, he said, Dad, I did all these things for you. I was home, I was there, where is my party? And the dad said, listen, son, those things are cool, but you had me the entire time. That basically, despite having all these things, you want a party, but you had the presence, not based on the things that you do, because of our relationship. So I think, in essence, what this means to us, this means to me, is that it is a nature of our identity. However, what leads us should be our Christianity and who we belong to. If that makes any sense.
Thank you, Pastor. That was.
Could I add something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please. This one is very important to me, particularly because I live in Haiti. I moved back to Haiti. I think that first of all, we probably need to define the terms we're talking about. So, like, black, Haitian, and Christian, three different things, right? So black is a race, which is a social construct, right? Black is a race. It's a social construct. We agree it's a social construct, but it doesn't mean that it's not real. We agree that we're black people, right? Haitian is an ethnicity and a nationality. You can be Haitian by nationality. You can be Haitian by ethnic background, like we are. Our parents are from there, all right? It's an ethnicity, so that's part of who we are. Faith, like my brother just said, is a choice that you have made to belong to someone. It's a religion, it's a faith background, all right? So these are three things. They should not be things in conflict. Your color of your skin is sacred to you. You can't change it. It's your DNA. There's nothing you can do to change that. Where your parents came from, you can't change that. You have no choice over your ethnic background. You understand? So being Haitian and being black is one and the same. Okay? Being Haitian, being black, there are Haitians that are not black. They're Haitian by nationality. All right? You can be Haitian, people who came from Africa and were made slaves on the island of Haiti, on the island of Haiti. All right? We are black people. All right? Our skin is a certain color, black people. All right? So black is not different than Haitian. We are Haitian, we are black. Your faith is what you have chosen to subscribe to in your belief in Jesus Christ as a Christian. Now, this is important because there's a history that comes along with being black and Christian because of colonization, because of what has happened in so many countries. There's a history that comes along with being Haitian in this country. So when all of those three things converge, my brother said there's a pressure that's added onto you. There's a lot of pressure to be black and Christian, but to also be a child of an immigrant or an immigrant. I'm an immigrant because I was born in Haiti. Me and my parents came here, so I was raised as an immigrant. I didn't become an American citizen until I was like 19. I couldn't even vote for Obama. I wasn't an American citizen. So I'm a just come for real. So that's how recent I am. You see, so there's pressure when you, not only are we children of immigrants, which means a lot of us, like we were just talking about earlier, a lot of us, our history has been not messed up, but influenced because our parents just didn't know certain things. When it comes to college, when it comes to education, when it comes to finances. So there's pressure that's added on with being Haitian and with being black and with being Christian in this society today. So that's a lot of pressure. Like my brother said, our identity is found in Christ first. But the identity that we have as Christians, as Haitians, should not be neglected. This is why Jesus says, yo, I'm a Jew. I come from someplace. I'm from Bethlehem. You see what I'm saying? They identify Jesus as a Palestinian Jew. So where you come from is important because you can't be a Christian without that cultural, everything you do, you see, you hear, you understand. It's from a cultural lens. So your identity is found in Christ, but the way we express ourselves is through a cultural lens. So the challenge that we have is how do we balance all of that? And I think what we're doing with HCLN, what these guys are doing, is amazing because it's allowing us to unpack those layers, peel back those layers and see, all right, how can I be these things? How can I elevate Christ while also being who I am as a black Haitian person? So great job with this guy. I think it's really important for this time.
I want to say one short thing. Being Haitian is everything. Being Haitian is everything. And the weightiness of being Haitian, sometimes we minimize the weightiness of being a Haitian. Because at the end of the day, we impacted the world like no other country ever. Ever. So like there's a weightiness that comes, there's a responsibility that comes with being Haitian that sometimes we don't talk about. It's everything.
That's true. That's true.
And I feel like if we're sitting on being Haitian, before we even get to black or Christian, if we sit on being Haitian, I feel like we in a sense are responsible for how we say who we are. So the world is trying to tell us this is what Haitian is. The world is trying to tell us this is what black is. But it's up to us to show them that definition. But and then with the values that we receive as Christians, we couple that together. It enables us to now make an influence in this world that completely changes the definition of what the world sees in us. Media is telling us this is what Haiti is. You know, we're hearing what Haiti looks like from people's perspectives, right? But we've experienced it. We've been born into it. We have to be able to have the courage enough to say, yes, I'm Haitian, Black, and Christian, or whatever order you want to put it in, as long as you make sure that you make a daily decision to define what it means to be Haitian and be unapologetic about it. I've run into so many young adults my age who are embarrassed to say they're Haitian, but it's because of a lack of education. It's a lack of knowing our own history. Where does our blood come from? What does that represent? What impact has our nation really had? Not what they're telling us our nation's history is, us really taking the time to dig in our own archives to know what does it mean to be Haitian, what impact did we make, and what can we do to redefine what the world thinks we are. You know, you see what I'm saying? No one else can do it but us. And so being Black and Haitian is not a derogatory term. It's a term of pride and honor. I am Black and I am Haitian. And unapologetic. And guess what? I'm Christian. And what does that mean? That means while you might define me one way, I have another weapon that I could throw at you. I could throw love at you. I can throw understanding at you. I can throw education at you. I know who I am. I'm grounded in being Haitian, Black, and Christian.
Indeed.
You feel me?
Indeed. That's crucial. That was beautiful.
And she from Little Haiti.
No. Little Haiti.
Little Haiti.
Not little.